This is the Post Nihilist, and I wanted to do a video in order to give a different take on the January 16th, 2019 video that I did entitled Dumbing Down Malcolm X to Huey Newton, Aaliyah to Cardi B, and Michael Jordan to Shaq. This is America video, and again, that was on my last video, and that was on January the 16th, 2019. And the different take that I want to um, give, or maybe like a multi-dimensional, like a different side, has to do with the dream in which I saw the two Michael Jordans facing off. One was Michael Jordan, and one was Michael Jordan, but with Shaquille O'Neal's mind. So essentially, it was Shaquille O'Neal, but in a Michael Jordan body. So it would look like a copy. It would look like either twins, like Michael Jordan facing Michael Jordan's twin, or two copies of Michael Jordan, but one with Shaquille O'Neal's mind. And again, this is discussed in my last video, which was on January the 16th of this year. And the dream that I had on January the 13th of this year, 2019 as well, was where I saw Michael Jordan, and he was facing another Michael Jordan with Shaq's brain, but the Michael Jordan that was the actual Michael Jordan, I saw his right profile, but I saw the Michael Jordan copy, or the Michael Jordan twin, I saw his left profile. Now, left, going on the left hand path, that can be considered bad. So the Michael Jordan who had Shaquille O'Neal's mind could be considered the wrong path, Michael Jordan, whereas the actual Michael Jordan, the multidimensional or a different way of looking at it, or possibly a misinterpretation on my part, now I see that as being actually Michael, the angel Michael. And I saw that, or I started to piece it together when I had a dream in which, like a large, like massive, um, like brown skinned male was on a team opposite from the actual Michael Jordan. So in essence, I'm thinking that because of the mask, because of how big it was, I'm thinking it was an angel, because it was this male who's like a brown skinned male who was playing defense against Michael Jordan. He had the mask of something that wasn't human. So I'm thinking this is the actual Michael, whereas Michael Jordan, who, I took the literal interpretation of it being actually Michael Jordan. So, I saw it as the dumbing down, like from Michael Jordan, the basketball player, who is, said to have, who I've never heard anyone call stupid, to Shaq, who's considered a clown and people don't take seriously in the dumbing down process of our entertainers. So it's like if you watch television, all they have to do, and they know that you idolize these people they put in front of you, all they have to do is to dumb you down, is to dumb down the heroes they put out for you to worship. So essentially, I was seeing that as, okay, Michael Jordan, you never see him like in a dress or anything like that. And then now the idols are like LeBron James and Shaq, people who, wear dresses, who don't seem to be wise, and who can be more easily manipulated. And so I took it as being the actual Michael Jordan. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking it had the biblical aspect of being sons of flesh versus, or children of the flesh versus children of the spirit. Um, and I see it as Michael Jordan, the actual Michael Jordan, being represented along with the Michael Jordan with Shaq's brain. So he would be on that left hand, left profile path, whereas the actual Michael Jordan in that dream would be Michael. And if you watch my video on the reincarnation of the two witnesses, you will see that Michael, I'll name some of his incarnations, but that video was done, I think, December the 13th of 2013, December of 2013, my reincarnation of the two witnesses video. And you'll see in that video that I'll name some of the reincarnations of Michael. Jacob, who had twin Esau, but Jacob is an incarnation of Michael. Abel was an incarnation of Michael. Moses was an incarnation of Michael. King David was an incarnation of Michael. And then, David wrote Psalms. He could play instruments. And then Moses Hogan was the last incarnation of Michael. And then also, he was also Nat Turner. So yeah. And then with Gabriel, his incarnations included Abraham, Noah, Adam, Malcolm X, John the Baptist, Elijah. So, those are his incarnations. And Gabriel Prosser. So if you watch that video, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But what brought it to a head, what made me decide I have to do this video, is I've been receiving dreams in which I've been seeing twins of respectable men, like the twin Moses Hogan, twin Malcolm X. And what I think this represents is the children of the flesh, because in Romans, we hear talk of the children of the flesh, whereas, not all Israel is Israel. Not all those who are Abraham's seed are actually the children of God. And since Abraham and Malcolm X were incarnations of Gabriel Processor, Gabriel, so essentially the same person, Abraham, the spirit of Elijah on John the Baptist. So Malcolm X will be Abraham. So if you see Malcolm X in a dream, like I saw last night, but he was dark skinned, and he had Malcolm X's nose and mouth and like facial structure, but he was dark skinned, and I was in a dark room and he had no eyes, or his eyes were like so shadowed over, like he couldn't, like there was no way he could see, So I'm thinking what that represents is the children of the flesh, just like the twin of Michael. If Michael is Jacob, then the twin of Michael Jordan would be Esau. So that would be another child of the flesh, children of the flesh from Abraham, but not actually of God. They're just children of the flesh, meaning they have the seed, they have the form of, Jacob, or they have the form of Abraham because they came from Abraham's seed. So they might have the form of a Malcolm X. And this one in the dream last night was even dark skinned, but he had Malcolm X's like face or nose and mouth and facial structure, but he was in darkness, and he was, about 15 feet away, and he had no eyes. So what that represented to me is this is of Abraham's seed, okay? And Malcolm X, he was light skinned in his final incarnation, but of course he started out as Adam, as color of, as darker skinned, but in his latest incarnation, he happened to be light skinned. So in showing a dark skinned Malcolm X, that's just indicating like a seed of Abraham, because I have no idea what Abraham looks like. So the dream would have to show me a Malcolm X, because that's the only incarnation that I know what the various incarnations of Gabriel, that's who I pin it on, Malcolm X, because, in my mind, in this lifetime, that's who I associate with those incarnations. So a dark-skinned Malcolm X equals, to me, Abraham's seed. But this Abraham seed is in darkness and has no eyes. So that indicates of Abraham's seed, but not of God, meaning they're in spiritual blindness, children of the flesh, Esau's, people who have the appearance of these men of God, but they're not of God. And you really have to watch out for them. But that indicates that just because someone looks, is from the physical seed of Abraham or Israel, Jacob, doesn't mean that they're actually of God. Okay, so in that dream where, Shaq had Michael's body, I'm seeing that as an Esau, a carnal, and Esau symbolizes someone who, like I said, seed of the flesh, Abraham's seed by flesh, but carnal minded, not of God. God hates them because they're not for they don't love God. Like they love their carnal lusts, and they're beastly and fleshly, and they don't have any real they don't have a desire to, like Jacob did. Jacob really wanted to be blessed, and he was willing to do what it took in order to be blessed. Whereas Esau was willing to give up his blessing, very easily. So God appreciates and loves those who actually love him, want love and, want to be closer to him. Whereas those who are only concerned about flesh lust, he hates, because they're not interested in him anyway. They're interested in, filling their bellies, getting the treasures of the world, gaining the world and losing their souls, so to speak. So the the twin on the left hand side, Michael Jordan with Shaq's brain would include Michael Jordan. And I'm thinking that includes all like these basketball players, celebrities, because in a recent dream, um, I saw a twin Moses Hogan. And this Moses Hogan, twin, meaning Esau, because Moses Hogan, again, is an incarnation of Michael, the last incarnation of Michael. Another incarnation of Michael was Jacob, who had a twin brother, Esau. So if I see in a dream, because the Moses Hogan of this lifetime is the only one who I would be able to positively recognize as a part of that line of reincarnations of Michael, in this dream, seeing Moses Hogan as, a twin, would equal Esau. Okay, so in a dream I saw Moses Hogan twin. He had an earring, a diamond earring in his left ear, and he wore a blue jersey fabric short sleeve shirt with an Adidas logo on it. And I had to do some research because, I'm not a sports fan or anything like that. So this isn't going to be something that's obvious to me. I looked it up. Turns out, and I didn't get to see the right ear, but I assumed that the right ear didn't have an earring in it. I looked it up, and apparently Kobe Bryant had a deal with Adidas when he first started out. So I'm thinking this could mean that this is Kobe trying to go in Michael Jordan's footsteps, because they say that Kobe, he changed his number to 24, and it's like he wanted to be the next Michael, I guess. And he looked up to Michael, and Michael knew that he looked up to him. And so Michael, kind of sings his praises because he recognizes Kobe as an admirer of him, and whatever. So it's like Kobe aspired to be like Michael. So I wonder if I was being shown this lineage of Esau's, spiritual Esau's, of flesh descendants of Abraham, um, spiritual Esau's, symbolically Esau's, who excel in the carnal world, who gain all the carnal pleasures, because he got, of course, Kobe, he got the Adidas deal, he has a diamond earring in his left ear. I think he and Michael only wear earrings in their left ear because I think that they still have the sensibility to understand that even though, wearing an earring, period, biblically you're saying that you're proud to be a slave, like you're content to stay in slavery. If you put a piercing in all, I think AWL or AUL, you pierce your ear, that's indicating that you're happy in slavery biblically. But at least they had the sense to know that if you pierce both your ears, and I think both LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal have both their ears pierced, but that looks completely feminine. But still, just having, even with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant just having their left ear pierced, it just looks kind of bizarre. And again, it says that you're happy to stay in your master's house as a slave with the wife and children that your master gave you. So, what I saw, I think, in seeing twin Moses Hogan with a diamond earring that I saw on his left ear. And also, it hurt my feelings because at first, when I was walking into the room, and it was a large room, it's like a conference room, he was sitting at a table like he was about to give a speech. I looked over and I wanted to speak to him because I thought he was the actual Moses Hogan. But then it focused in on his left earring, and I was like, no, that can't be Moses Hogan because he wouldn't wear he doesn't wear earrings at all. And then to see this Moses Hogan twin wearing an Adidas like jersey material short sleeve shirt, blue one, I was like, no, because Moses Hogan was not in sports. So this is showing again along the lines of the Michael um, Michael Jordan with Shaquille O'Neal's mind, meaning these are the Esau's. These are, in addition to that, the fact that it was a twin Michael Jordan with a Shaquille O'Neal mind. Michael in the Bible is seen as our protector, our leader. Michael's incarnation was Moses, King David, Nat Turner. Like these are men who will go to war, who will die trying to protect Israel, trying to protect their people, trying to protect his people. So like what I'm seeing here is that in place of the Malcolm X's, in place of the King David's, his army and, stuff like men of God, men who are willing to, and call it Muhammad's, in place of them, men who are willing to die for their people. They have cleverly put up Michael Jordan's, Kobe Bryant's, who marry outside of their race, who probably don't even like in that particular dream, this twin, like Esau twin, or representation of children of the flesh. He didn't even look my way. He didn't want anything to do with me. Like I was trying to like speak to him or whatever. He didn't even acknowledge me. These people, these Michael Jordans, these Kobe Bryants, they're not even for black people. They marry outside of their race. At this point in time, they're married outside of their race. And they're for themselves. I mean, because in that dream he had on, it's almost like he was owned by Adidas in this dream, this Esau like twin type character with the athletic wear on. It seemed like he was owned by Adidas. He was their spokesperson. So it's like these people are for themselves and they're for enriching themselves and their immediate family. They're not for the black race, but the media puts them up as if that is what they are. And I don't want you to think it's only within sports and entertainment, because, you have these people who get paid a whole bunch of money for putting the ball in the hoop. But what does that do for you personally? And you see how the media has really pull the wool over our eyes to think that someone who can put a ball in the hoop is able to lead, to correctly lead people. All they can do is lead people to follow that dream. And we know how hard it is to get into the NBA. We know how hard it is for these kids who idolize Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and whatever. We know how hard it would be for them to actually make a career as a basketball player. Just like it's hard to become an actor, even if you're good. And so they're selling false hope to the youth. And on top of that, when you look at the lives of these men, how they cheated on their wives, both divorces, cheating on their wives. You look at Kobe Bryant and how his sexual escapades outside of marriage. And you realize these are not moral people. Like they have a talent, they have something that they're good at, and all it does, it entertains us, but being a basketball player, and Dennis Rodman is a perfect example of that. Being a basketball player does not improve you as a man, does not bring you into manhood. Magic Johnson said on his Hall of Fame speech, he thanked like the individuals, or like the owners or something within the NBA, for allowing him to be a boy, a little boy, for 12, 13 years. He said that in his Hall of Fame speech. And he said that because he understands that basketball is a recessed childhood sport that has been parlayed into a man's career, but not successfully, because you look at people like Dennis Rodman and you see how these males who play basketball for a living, who play, a childhood sport or an exercise, something that you should do for aerobics, they parlay it into an actual career, but it doesn't improve their character, because on the court you're paid for dribbling the ball, getting it into the hoop, and evading, you know, getting the ball stolen or stuff like that. Defense, offense, but not for strengthening your spirit, not for being moral. So you have these males who make a lot of money because it's set up that way. It's like a bread and circuses. They make a lot of money because they have this basketball that they're good at, but you realize at the end of their career that morally they were corrupt, and they might even be even more corrupt at the end of their career, because they have more money now and they have more freedom to explore their various lustful desires and immoral desires. Um, I also had a dream where Michael Jordan was being interviewed, and the interviewer, it was like a CNN interview or something, and the interviewer said, Dennis Rodman cheated for 19 years. And I looked it up and it showed Dennis Rodman, I think, has been playing basketball. He played basketball for 19 years, I think. And that's including his time in the more minor league teams once he got older. But the interviewer told Michael Jordan in this dream, Dennis Rodman cheated for 19 years. And I had to do some research. Again, I'm not a basketball player. And it turns out I'm not a basketball fan. And it turns out that Dennis Rodman, he was part of the Bad Boy Pistons, they call them. And apparently they they would hurt you, like, in order to prevent you from getting shots. So they would like hit you, and then there was this one clip where Dennis Rodman, after the play is over, he like pushes Scottie Pippen into he pushes him down after the play is over, like real hard. So and then I looked it up and it said that he's one of the dirtiest players, you know. So he's listed. Dennis Rodman is actually listed among the dirtiest players in the NBA, and I had no idea of this. Of course, me, I just knew that he was a good rebounder, and he won, I think, 3 championships with the Chicago Bulls, but I didn't know that until recently, that he was a dirty player. But I'm thinking, okay, so the CNN white, like, interviewer told Michael Jordan, that actual Michael Jordan, that Dennis Rodman cheated for 19 years. And Michael Jordan just looked at him poker face, like there was no expression on his face. He just looked. And I'm thinking he didn't say anything. And I'm thinking he didn't say anything because Dennis Rodman ended up on his team and they won 3 championships. And I'm thinking all he cares about, all Michael Jordan cares about, is winning. So Michael Jordan, I see him as being in the sunken place, so to speak, where he has this one talent that he's good at. He's entertaining, but he's taken it too far. Like, winning is everything to him, and he'll play with Dennis Rodman, who's dressed up as a white woman in a wedding dress, um, and in another dream. Um, Another reporter was asking Michael Jordan, has Dennis Rodman touched you inappropriately? And I don't think Michael Jordan gave a positive or negative. I don't think he really answered that either. He just didn't answer it. The interviewer said in a dream, has Dennis Rodman touched you inappropriately? And I would assume that would mean like rubbing his hand up against him, or, caressing his, like fondling, or like, slick kind of molestation where, people touch you inappropriately and they might make it seem like it's an accident or something. That's what I took it as, and the interviewer just said straight out, has Dennis Rodman, to Michael Jordan, has Dennis Rodman touched you inappropriately? And Michael Jordan just didn't really respond. And again, I think that's showing me, I think these dreams are showing me that Michael Jordan really does not have moral character. Like, if you're on his team and you're known as a dirty player, he's going to defend. He's not going to say anything against you because he doesn't have moral courage. All he wants to do is win. He's one dimensional in the sense that in the sunken place, he has this skill where his body is being used in the sunken place now. His body is being used for someone else's agenda. Okay? Because, of course, bread and circuses, like with Rome, is used in order to distract the masses from what's really going on. So Michael Jordan's body is being used. He's this freak of nature who could jump high and do all this, you know, stuff with his body, because he's gifted with, because he is the actual flesh son. He's a flesh descendant of Abraham. So he's of the original people, of that lineage. So, of course he's going to have a strong body, and it's going to be able to do the things that sturdy bodies are able to do that are from the original people of Adam, of Abraham, of Noah. But he's only a flesh body of that lineage. So he didn't have the spirit. So, in all his talents, all his skills, he's donated to another cause. So he's in the sunken place and he's able to do all these athletic moves. But basketball in itself should have been left as a playground sport, as Magic Johnson indicated. He said, "You let me be a little boy, let me play on the playground for 13 years," because he recognized it as, a playground sport. And now on to, concerning Magic Johnson. He's a fake Christian, and he's another reason why you need to understand that people who look like the descendants of, and they are the descendants of Abraham, of Israel, symbolically twin Esau, of Abraham, but only of the flesh. They can be very dangerous, because people who are only of the flesh, if they come across the knowledge that they are the actual descendants of Abraham, of Israel, what they'll do is they will take that information and they will incorporate it into their broken state. Okay. And I also had a dream recently, like 2 or 3 nights ago, where I was told by Moses Hogan that, I was in a classroom, a math class actually, and if you know anything about his music, he's a musical person. So, and we were in a math class. So if you're a musical person and you're in a math class, I don't want to say that would be the wrong class to be in, but maybe it might kind of limit you a little bit. But he was telling me that in this dream the other night, he said that if you use the wrong material to fix two buildings, and I assume they're twin towers. Like, this is what I'm seeing in my mind. I'm seeing twin towers, buildings next to each other. He said if you use the wrong material to fix or to help, I think he said fix. It was either fix or help create two buildings. If you use the wrong material, and you use that same material on both buildings will be destroyed, and the one that is broken the most will be the most successful in this world. So what he was telling me, and in this class, the teacher was a white woman, and it was actually one of my professors for a statistics class in college. And she was late to the class, and so he was talking to me, and that's when he said, you know, if you use the wrong material to fix two buildings, they'll both be destroyed, but the one that is broken, and he used the word broken. Um, and think back to Willie Lynch. Also think back to the fact that the Saints won the Super Bowl against the Colts. So the Saints, you know, are those who are the children of God, and the Colts are the seed of, would be the seed of Abraham, or the seed of Israel, who were broken in the devil's system. And either, you know, they're sunk in place where, you know, their body is being used, but they have the devil's mind because they went through his education system, and a certain wrong material was used to fill their minds. Their minds were filled with the wrong material, and so they were broken in that process, just like you break a horse. And the one who's broken the most, meaning the one who completely like memorizes and absorbs the most, you know, like you say you go to college, you know, you get your master's, you get your doctorate, and you get a good job, okay? Say you get a job as a psychiatrist where you're giving people drugs that dumb them down, turn them into zombies, but you're making a lot of money doing it. You give people drugs that turn off their emotions, but you're making a lot of money doing it. Why? Because you're raised up in the devil's system. You're given a godless education to where you don't know that, you know, there might be demons who are influencing people's thoughts and behaviors. So you grew up within a, you know, a godless education system. You took all that information in, and now you're being rewarded for being able to take in the most information. So in being the most destroyed by the devil's information, you're the most broken. Um, so you become the most successful, if that makes sense, within the devil's system, because you've memorized, especially if you're of Abraham's seed, you know, or of Israel's seed, and you've gone to these universities, or you've gone to these schools, public schools even, and or even private schools, and you've memorized all this godless information in place of learning the Bible. And so you have all this Satan propaganda in your head. The more you memorize, it seems like the more successful. The more you're able to memorize and pare it back, it seems like the more successful you can be. So that's what I think that section of that dream meant. What he was telling me, that, you know, you put all this false information in, you're broken by it, um, and then you're rewarded for being broken. Um, but concerning Magic Johnson, because I think, you know, for a while I thought that Michael Jordan was the most clever of the spiritual Esau's, the only flesh descendants of Abraham. But um, I think that Magic Johnson is more clever than Michael Jordan in that he's incorporated Christianity into his scam. And it's always the most wicked people, because think about Satan. Satan, you know, of course he's read the Bible, but he uses it in order to try to deceive the children of God. It takes a really wicked person in order to use Christianity in order to deceive people, you know, because it would be better if you had an atheist saying, well, I don't believe in God. But when you have someone saying, oh, I believe in God, that deceives you. You know, it puts you into a relaxed kind of mode. You know, it's kind of like someone, they start a business and they say, well, you know what, if I put I'm a Christian on my my business card, I can get more business even though I'm not a Christian. So that's kind of like what Magic Johnson is. So he's more slick than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, I don't hear talking about Christianity. You know, he's just what he is. You know, he's a competitive basketball player in the sunken place, and that's what he does. Whereas Magic Johnson, he has incorporated Christianity, and he has such a charismatic personality that, you know, he can say I'm a Christian, and then have a son who's dressing up like a woman and say, I love my son and I accept my son, and like no one blinks an eye because he's so like charismatic. But I was saying in a dream that he's a fake Christian. And what happens with these people who are of the flesh, children of the flesh, but not of the spirit, is that they incorporate this, whether it be Christianity, whether it be Hebrew Israelite doctrine, whatever it is, whatever religion or belief system they come into contact with, they're going to incorporate it into their brokenness or their evilness. So, for instance, say I'm an actual Christian and I broadcast it by having a license plate that has in God we trust on it, okay? A person who is of the flesh might see that and say, in their mind, they might say, okay, this person is going to be giving to me because they're a Christian. So they're going to feel bad about not giving to me because their Bible tells them that they should love everyone and give to everyone. Now, that's not what the Bible says, but it's what a false Christian would believe because they haven't actually read the entire Bible or understood it. So just like when people say you shouldn't judge, they don't understand it means get your house right, get yourself right so that you can judge correctly. But that takes a more nuanced understanding of the Bible. What people who aren't Christians, who haven't read the Bible, do is they find scripture that appeals to them and then they apply it to everything without actually without having read the Bible at all. So a person like that would approach me and maybe say, well, give me this for free because you're a Christian. And if I say no, they'll say, well, aren't you a Christian? They'll kind of like taunt you. This is an example. They'll taunt you. Well, aren't you a Christian? Aren't you supposed to be giving? But these are people who are only using the Bible when it suits them, and they don't even know the Bible. They don't know anything about how the Bible says not to be lazy. They haven't read Proverbs. They haven't read, Paul. They don't know how God feels about sloth and laziness. And on top of that, they don't understand what poverty really is. Uh, the poor, the biblical poor, looked a lot different than the poor of today, who can be overweight and still claim that they're poor, can wear fake hair, still claim to be poor, can have cable, drink sodas, have all these, extra things, have cigarettes, drugs, and still be claiming poor because the television has told them they're poor. So on top of the fact that God, doesn't like laziness, and that, if you're lazy, read Proverbs to get an understanding of what happens when you just fold your arms and don't do any work. But people, yeah. But on top of that, if people today knew what poverty actually was back then, they would see that they're not actually poor. You know, that even now that we're in the curses. A lot of people in their broken state, they've turned to addiction, and so they're wasting their money on their addictions because they're broken and they don't know how to fix themselves, and so they turn to entertainment. They get cable television, drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, because they're broken, and it's like they're trying to dull the pain, but they're broken and they don't know how to fix themselves, and they're not turning to God. So they're addicts, and they might very well be out of money. But it's like, if you spend all your money on drugs, because you're broken and you've decided not to turn to God, like, what would I look like as a Christian giving you money? And especially if you're trying to use that against me. But I'm just showing you how people who even might come across the knowledge that they're children of Abraham or children of Israel, they'll say, how can I use this to my benefit? Those are the kind of people who could start cults. Okay, that's why they're so dangerous. Children of flesh are very dangerous because any information that they come across, they're going to use it against you. Whether it be they try to use it against you to get free stuff from you, they might even have more than you have. But if they think you're a Christian, then they'll see that as a weakness and try to use that in order to get things from you through, making you feel guilty or shame. But if you know the Bible, then you'll realize a snake when a snake comes to you, or you'll realize a person who doesn't know the Bible, who's just pulling out cherry picking in order to get what they want. But they can use that information and use their appearance, which is similar to your appearance, like the twin Malcolm X that I saw, who is in spiritual darkness, had dark skin and no eyes. They can't see spiritually. They have no spiritual insight. They're in darkness, but they have the form, so they can say, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm a descendant of Abraham. I'm a descendant of Jacob. Let's start this community together. In their mind, they're thinking they can use that in order to they can incorporate this new knowledge that they've gotten, that they think is convincing, in order to get material things from you, because they're spiritual Esau's, meaning they're only concerned with spiritual with physical, material, carnal enrichment. They don't believe in God. They could not care less about the afterlife, or God. God doesn't talk to them. They're in darkness. Maybe Satan does, but God doesn't talk to them. So what they're seeing with this information that they come across, be very careful with these Hebrew Israelite groups, these cults, many of them, because what they'll do, they'll really dress it up too. They might dress in what they think was traditional, Hebrew clothing, costumes. They'll really dress it up. And they'll say, look, I'm your brother. I'm also a descendant of Abraham, but they're children of the flesh. And you'll know it because they'll use the scripture in order to extract things from you, whether it be your worship. They might want to be worshiped by you in a cult. They might want to get money from you, and you don't know where that money is going. And they might feed you false doctrine, because again, they don't believe what they're teaching you. Okay, children of the flesh do not believe what they're teaching you. So who cares if they misinterpret scripture? Who cares if they twist scripture around in order to have it suit their current material needs? Who cares? Because to them it's not real anyway. So that's why you have to be very careful for these children of the flesh. And just like, Moses Hogan twin with the diamond earring, with the Adidas, Adidas logo, the blue shirt with the white Adidas logo on it. And he didn't even acknowledge me. And it hurt my feelings initially, because he looked just like Moses Hogan. But it was an Esau. It was a child of the flesh, an Abraham child of the flesh. Okay, these people can be very tricky. They look just like you. Kobe Bryant looks just like you. Michael Jordan looks just like you. But they're for themselves. They're for enriching themselves. They're for their brand. They're for the shoe company that pays them the most money. They're not for you. And I think that's important to realize, because in that dream on January the 13th of 2019, which I discussed in my latest video on January the 16th, the dumbing down, I thought that it was Michael facing Shaq, like two Michaels, but one had Shaq's mind. And so, I thought it was showing, and it still could be showing that, but actually, again, this is the most important thing to remember. And again, you would have to watch that January 16, 2009 video, Dumbing Down, in order to understand. But Michael Jordan is also represented by the left-hand profile, Michael Jordan with Shaquille O'Neal's mind. He is an Esau. Michael Jordan is also an Esau, because his mind, the Shaq mind, indicates a basketball mind. Okay, so that character could indicate Michael Jordan and all the ones who came after him who admired and wanted to become him. So Kobe Bryant admired Michael Jordan, wanted to become him. Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James admired Michael Jordan, seems to want to become him. Yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan is seen as like the the standard, you know, of basketball that a lot of people want to become. So that Michael Jordan form with Shaq's brain would indicate just a basketball minded Esau, you know, but um, they're propped up as being our leaders, you know. And I see them no different than like, well, no, I can't say that. Um, but look at like a Bill Cosby, for instance. I won't say that they're the same because Bill Cosby was really ramping up the black accountability later in his life, whereas Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant don't do that, you know. And as far as Magic Johnson, he uses Christianity in order to get what he wants. I mean, he's a successful businessman because he's able to give people what they want. And he knows, as a really shrewd, like, person, a good businessman, he knows you mirror people. You give people what makes them comfortable, you tell them what they want to hear, and then they get relaxed around you. And he's an expert at that. Like, he's able to get people into this positive illusion that he creates and have them, like him and trust him. And, he had the Magic Johnson theaters, feeding people fiction for money. And, because, he's able to sell his brand because people like Magic Johnson because, of the personality he's able to project. Or portray for people in order to make them feel comfortable. And Christianity is just his way of easing people into accepting him, liking him. But Bill Cosby, he's different because he actually was saying, he was putting himself up as a leader of black people. So he's more dangerous because he's saying, look at me, like, I'm like, listen to me, black people, like, I have the answers for you for how we can get our community in a better position. But I can't stress this enough. If a person is not living correctly, like if they are evil in their private life, there's no way they can lead you in the right direction. Again, I keep going back to this image of Malcolm X, someone who looked like Malcolm X, but was dark skinned and had no eyes. Like the eyes were like shadowed out. Like, I don't know if there, I didn't see any gaping holes, and this person was 15 feet away, and I saw only their left profile, but it was dark skinned. It had Malcolm X's like nose, mouth profile, left profile, but it had no like it was shadowed. The eyes were shadowed, so I couldn't see any eyes. These people who pretend to be Christians, who pretend to be Hebrew Israelites, even who pretend to be black leaders, if they're not living right, then there's no way that they can lead you in the right direction. I don't care how convincing, I don't care how charismatic they sound, I don't care how right they sound. They're only going to be right to a certain extent. And that rightness is going to cover up a whole lot of information that that seemingly they're seemingly right, but in a matter of fact kind of way. But you'll see that they don't understand the nuances because, like I said, with Magic Johnson, and if you've listened to any of his, he did a sermon. I don't know how many he's done, but he did a sermon at his church, and he couldn't resist saying that now he's the president of the Lakers. That, to me, that had no place in a sermon. But more importantly, in listening to his sermon, and this is recent, I think last year, but you realize he only had a surface level. He didn't have a deep understanding of the Bible, and um, it that is a result, just like Bill Cosby's assessment of the black community. That is a result of a person, of an individual, of an ego latching on to a philosophy or a cause or anything that can get them what they want. So, Bill Cosby, he wanted to portray that image of himself, and it was a false image. And so he didn't have a nuanced understanding of what exactly is going on in the Black community. Not only that, but he couldn't see himself as part of the problem, with his immorality and his predatory nature and his pretending to be a father so that he can seduce women into unconsciousness and take advantage of them like a predator. So, just watch out for the flesh descendants, um, of Abraham and Jacob, who look like them, twin Esau's. They look just like them, but they're for themselves, whether it be their endorsements, they're owned by their athletic um, logos, or whether it be, them using these various causes and philosophies and even religions in order to create a way for themselves to get more uh, material goods, wealth, fame. Just be very, very careful of that, because these people are immoral, and when the time comes, they're standing for themselves. Like Michael Jordan, he wants to win at all costs. If I were on the other team, he would be fighting against me ruthlessly, and I am on the other team. I'm not on his team, but that dream showed me that Michael, which I think was Michael, because he had like a massive, you know, body, and he was like tall. He was showing himself in defense against Michael Jordan's team. So I just think that was a correction to show me that it was Michael, that the Archangel Michael, in that 2013 dream that I discussed in my last video on January the 16th of 2019. That was the Archangel Michael facing the Michael Jordan twin. So symbolically an Esau, symbolically a child of the flesh, an Abraham child of the flesh, which can be, that can indicate either an Esau or even a descendant of Israel, that is just of the flesh but not of God. A child of the flesh of Abraham. If you were Abraham's seed, you would love me, but you don't. You're not doing the work of Abraham. You're children of the devil. These are children of the devil. They are flesh descendants of Abraham, but they are children of the devil. And they don't even recognize God. When he comes in the flesh, they don't recognize him because they're children of the flesh and therefore children of the devil. But the Archangel Michael facing off against the Michael twin, so symbolically Esau, but with the mind of Shaq, meaning basketball mind, meaning sunken place mind, meaning playground sports carried into adulthood, where you have these grown men who, for a career, maybe 20 years, like Dennis Rodman or Kobe Bryant, they were playing a playground or a playground sport, or if you wanted to bring it into adulthood, it should have just been left as an aerobics, something to get your blood moving, your heart rate up. But they made careers out of it at the expense of their integrity and their morality, where you have Michael Jordan, who will play with a Dennis Rodman, um, as long as it helps them win. Like their main concern is themselves. They've dropped their morality if they ever had it, and their main concerns are themselves. And so that that January 16th, 2019 video was really the Archangel Michael or Jacob, or any of those incarnations of Michael facing off against an Esau or a spiritual, not spiritual, but a flesh descendant of Abraham, who would be a Michael Jordan twin who's basketball minded. So with a Shaquille O'Neal mind, whose mind is only on basketball. Like that's their obsession. That's their sunken place obsession. That is what their body is used for the benefit of the Roman Empire. But they have no real interest in the Bible. Don't be fooled by them.